Friends, I hope you enjoyed that little tour. Okay, so thank you for being here tonight, friends. Could you see the screen where it says, what is the Ode to Art Academy? Okay, well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight for about an hour. But let me introduce myself first. My name is Ed Salazar. I live in Texas, and I'm an artist. I had the privilege to be in the art department in Brooklyn, Bethel, and then Patterson for about 22 years. And I enjoy teaching art now. So anyways, let me tell you a little bit about this school and so many nice classes that are available if you choose to want to take a class, okay? So to begin with, how many of you like art? Raise your hand. All right, I think we all like art, and that's why you're here. And that's wonderful, friend. That's wonderful. We have that in common. Art is a wonderful thing. But if you were to ask somebody to define what art is, it's not that easy, is it? But I found this very nice definition. Art is the application of principles to achieve a result or an effect. Again, the application of principles to achieve a result or an effect. So if you do things the right way, you're going to get some good results. And that applies to many art forms, right? Now, this, what you see here, is a watercolor painting that was my tryout to get into the art department. Once I was at Bethel 2 years in different departments like the laundry, asbestos crew, construction plumbing, they needed another artist, and they gave me some photographs to see what I could do with them. I did this, and I got called, and what a privilege. I got some on-the-job training right there at Bethel. But I learned oil painting a little bit later. And here is a group picture of the art department in the 1980s, like the late 80s. Do you recognize Brother Alan Boyle there in the middle? He had a broadcast, JW broadcast after him. And here I am looking a lot younger right here in this corner, when I used to have dark hair and a mustache. There I am, right there. And so I was the youngest artist in the bunch. And it was a great opportunity to just glean some great information. And here is Brooklyn Bethel. The art department was on 25 Columbia Heights on the 9th floor. This was my office. Brother Boyle's office was here. And it was just surrounded by artists. Brother Francis' office was right here, believe it or not, right on the 9th floor. And we would enjoy seeing him walking up and down the halls. Now, when I left Bethel and started to Special Pioneer, they allowed me to do a little secular work in a balanced way, as long as I can focus on my ministry. And so, every once in a while I would sell some paintings to whoever asked me to. But when I got to Texas to care for my mother-in-law, I decided it would be good to have something a little bit more consistent. So let me try teaching art. So I announced that I would be teaching online through Skype in January 2020. And suddenly I started to get a good number of students. And so much so that I started to have a waiting list because I couldn't keep up with all of them. And it turned out that I thought of something. Since some of my students are progressing so well in drawing, they're catching on so quick, how about if I make them instructors too, and we can accept more people into this little group of classes? And that developed into a school, an online school that thankfully started to grow and pretty much is international now. And now we call it the Ode2Art Academy. So we like that. Why the name Ode to Art? How many of you have heard that beautiful symphony of Beethoven called Ode to Joy? It's a great song. Ode is a tribute to something that is wonderful. And I think we all agree that art is a gift from above. It's a beautiful thing. So this school is a tribute to the one who has given us art, right? Our creator. And We want to enjoy it. And the more you learn about it, the more you will appreciate it. In Spanish, it's called Academia Tributo al Arte. Now, don't you agree that there have been some magnificent paintings in the past? For example, if you go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, there is a painting by William Adolphe Bouguereau, who was an academic painter. What does that mean? Back then in Paris, France, in the late 1800s, there were schools called the academies. And the academy where he was taught and later became a teacher was called the École des Beaux-Arts, the School of Fine Arts. And one thing that they taught was that before getting into painting, into the fine arts, you got to learn how to draw first. So when I structured my school, I decided to do it exactly the same way as those art academies of the past. And let me tell you a secret. Most art schools don't teach this anymore. So what is being offered in the Ode2Art Academy is a very high level of art, going back to when art was at its pinnacle. So here are some other academic artists of the 19th century. Jean-Léon Gérôme, who painted this. And he had a student called Charles Bargue, and they got together to make a drawing course. And it's called the Charles Bargue Drawing Course. And I use that course to teach students how to draw. And you're going to see a little bit more about that in a moment. Did you know that Vincent van Gogh, this famous artist whose paintings are worth today millions and millions and millions of dollars, he took that Bargue drawing course too? Look what it says here in this this picture of Van Gogh at the bottom. It says that he copied every plate or every page, every exercise of that book, first in 1880 and then again 10 years later in 1890. And look what he had to say. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. He said that the careful study and constant and repeated copying of Bargue's exercises, which are a bunch of them, have given me an insight into figure drawing. In other words, if you want to learn how to draw people, do these exercises. I've learned to measure and to see and look for the broad outlines, so that, thank God, what seemed utterly impossible to me before is gradually becoming possible now. I no longer stand as helpless before nature as I used to do. So Van Gogh benefited from that Bargue drawing course. So let's talk about developing your eye in drawing. Everybody could do it, friends. All of you here can do it. Drawing is super important. Here is a painter from the 19th century, also a French painter called Ingres, who said that drawing is the probity of art. Probity means integrity. So have you heard of a building needs to have integrity? It has to be well structured. It has to have a good foundation. Well, the same thing in art. You got to have a nice solid basis of drawing for it to be, a good painting, solid. So you are now looking at one of the first exercises of the Bargue drawing course, and it may look very simple. Draw a part of a person's face and profile. Okay, but to do it right, they teach you to do things in stages. Stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 and stage 2. And even though it looks dark here, it's meant to be drawn very lightly. They just want you to make sure you can see it. But it's supposed to be done very lightly. And look how angular it is. And then later on you can get the subtleties. For example, this hand, start looking at the basic shapes, and then eventually you can get all the nuances and shading, right? And by the way, the best place to start is find the top part of the drawing and put a little mark, the bottom part of the drawing, put a little mark, the left side, put a little mark, and the right side, put a little mark, and then you connect it like a little box. And that is called the envelope. Once you have that, then do the same on this side, and you can separate the two sections, drawing 1 and 2, and then you got your little space in the middle so you can copy it, the same size. Do exactly the same thing, the same size box, and start matching the angles. So I'm sure if you were to look at a clock, you can tell where the 12 o'clock mark is, where the 3 o'clock, where the 6 o'clock mark. So look at angles, like if they were hands on a clock, and you will match that and you will be accurate. There's more to it, but that's a good start. And you can see how gradually these drawings, which come from magnificent sculptures in many museums in the world, these are beautiful works of art in themselves, so it also teaches you good taste. But little by little, they get more complex, more shading involved. And this is the final one, from this stage one to this. And some of you say, well, wow, you expect me to do that? And it's impressive how in just a few months, approximately 1 year, with an instructor online, you don't even have to be right next to them. I'm going to show you examples of that in a moment. But basically, the instructor will send a JPEG of the assignment through an email. Then the student will receive it, will print it out on a regular printer, and then will find a little drawing board to work from. And with the drawing pad, you can put step 1 on one side, step 2 on the other side, and you draw in the center. And we recommend charcoal. Sketch it out, do the best you can, and then take a picture of it, send it to your instructor, and next time they meet, they're going to go over it together. And there's maximum of 4 people in the class, maybe 3 most of the time, or 4. That way the teacher can give the student individual attention. And after some coaching, a lot of encouragement, showing them where they can keep focusing, there are incredible results. Here's an example of one of my students' work here on the right that copied this. And she got so good, she's now one of our instructors. We got about 20 instructors. This is a child's drawing. And she's only 9 years old when she started. Now she's 10. And I want to show you a great example of somebody who, before taking this class, did this drawing of herself when she was a little girl. Now she's, an adult. But then she took my course, and only 6 months later with my training, I asked her to do a drawing of Jimmy Stewart from this photograph. She applied all those principles. And if you want to write notes down, friends, these are 5 main points, okay, for drawing. I already talked about looking at angles, matching angles. The other one is measurements. Look at our Zoom screens. Can you see this rectangular shape here? If you were to look at this height, that's about half the distance of the horizontal line. So get in the habit of measuring. There's nothing wrong with having a ruler and looking at a line and making comparisons. So number 2, measurements. 3, curves. There's only 2 types of curves, friends. Only 2. There's concave. See this? Think of like walking into a cave, concave, and then the opposite, convex. That's all. So look for that. So that's 3. 4, negative shape. What's a negative shape? Look for not just the person or whatever you're drawing, but what is around it. For example, if I'm going like this, you just look at my hand. But did you see that this is a triangle here on the side? Do you see the shape of a triangle? If I'm going like this, can you see a shape here? So look for like what's within that box and the different shapes. Negative shape. What else? What about shading? Yes, shading from the darkest tones. That's why I like charcoal. Gets you some deep, rich darks, all the way to the lightest tones. So basically from black to white. Once you know how to control that and tilt it correctly and put the right amount of pressure, you are pretty much in control. So what are those 5 again? Angles, measurements, curves, negative space, and shading. Every assignment, it's the same thing over and over again. A person could be trained to do that. Here's another example of one of my students' work. About a year later, he did this. Now, you're probably wondering, 1 year, what does this require? Is this like every single day of the week in a year? No. It's only one 30-minute class every other week, because we know everybody's busy. So the other time, you have a whole in-between week to work on your homework assignment at your leisure. Keep working on it, get it right. And then you meet every other week. And each class is only like $20 only. $20 per class. And you're going to learn a lot in just a few months. So 2 classes a month, that's all. And it's amazing the progress you can make. And once you get through the course, you are ready to paint. But there's another type of class that we teach as of recently, and it's drawing out of your mind. And that's just a matter of understanding a few proportions, such as, the proportion of a idealistic looking person. There's all kinds of proportions, right? But this is kind of like a Superman proportion. So you have like 8 heads to a body. And you got to understand more or less, how it all breaks up. And eventually you learn how to put it in perspective. And let me back up just a little bit. So why is that good? Well, maybe some of you might be interested in helping out in Bethel in the future as artists. So let's say they need you in the audio video department, and you are assigned to do storyboarding. So that means even though this is a film, like the one being worked on in Australasian branch, every scene needs to be drawn out without anybody being filmed yet. It's out of your, that's what they call storyboarding. So if you know how to, draw out of your head the basics, then you can be a good storyboard artist. Another reason why this is good for artists is because, let's say you're an artist, you're going to take on an assignment, you want to plan out how it's going to look. You're going to draw out the composition or the layout of all the elements. Instead of calling models in and not knowing what to do, just trial and error, why don't you draw it out first, out of your head, and once it looks pretty good, now you call your model and take pictures, and now you can really refine this work of art, right? So that's a class we offer too. By the way, that bar class that we talked about, drawing sculptures, there are some hardcore children that are able to do it, but most children might get a little tired of a critique and drawing sculptures as assignments. So we have a class for children. It's called the Young Artist course, that they love drawing stuff like this without too much critique, but we're teaching them those principles. And eventually they can work their way in a little bit later on in life and draw some realistic looking stuff, right? So we have the Young Artist course. Okay, as I said, remember the academies in the past? They first started everybody with drawing. Once you learn drawing, you can progress to traditional painting. By the way, it's just a recommendation. If somebody just wants to skip drawing, can they go straight into a painting class? Yes, they can. But we feel that it's to their advantage to get some training in drawing for a while, and then they go to painting. This is the work of one of our drawing instructors, Brother Chris Kolupski. He's a wonderful guy, and in his class, he focuses on impressionistic landscapes. And of course, this is time-lapse, but it only takes him about 2 hours to get the basic shapes, put the right colors down, and work some edges here and there. And after a couple hours, you can actually do a nice painting. His work has appeared in international art magazines, and he used to work with me in Bethel as well. By the way, if you're interested, take notes, friends, or take a picture here. But he offers a 2-hour free class. A video is available, so you can watch it at home. What he does, he gives you a photographic reference. He shows you how to do it. He tells you exactly what colors to mix, what size canvas to work on, what brushes to use. He's a good teacher. And then you can start getting the feel of how to work with oils to do beautiful impressionistic landscape paintings. And I'm the other painting instructor, but I focus more on portraiture. I'm the portrait guy. That's my specialty. Okay, anybody know this place? the Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of my favorite places in the world. When I got to Bethel, on my time off, I would love to go to the Met and just soak in all that wonderful art that is there. Many masterpieces. And every once in a while, I would see some art students from some of the great art schools in New York City and in the world, actually. And I saw them around the Metropolitan Museum painting off of an original painting. And that's a lot of benefits too as an art student, to copy a masterpiece in this copyist program. Well, I applied around 3 years ago and I got picked. Did I ever go to an official art school? Well, I took some workshops, but I never went 4 years to an art school. My schooling was in Bethel, basically. But I did take some classes in the Art Students League and New York Academy of Art and a few other places, more like workshops, but I learned a lot. But anyways, I got called, and this was the painting I decided to do, an Arab making jewelry. I love that piece. I always liked it. So what did I do? I remembered the way Alan Boyle would work his underpainting, and I did an underpainting. And then when I got there and started to paint it, guess what? I finished first, and mine was the most accurate one. And it's because of the training I got at Bethel. So you can say that I learned from the school of experience, on-the-job training, observing great painters, reading a lot, going to seminars. And this is the type of stuff that I would love to share with all of you all in the painting classes. By the way, you are looking at a painting that is the very first oil painting of one of my students who just finished the drawing class. And she copied a Rembrandt. We had a little workshop. I've never seen her in person, just like you all. I'd love to meet you in person in the future, but just through Zoom. She's my student. She did great in the drawing class. Now she's an instructor, but she never painted until I showed her step by step how to approach this Rembrandt copy. This is Jeremiah lamenting the destruction of Jerusalem. And I was amazed how good of a job she did. So yes, this is a testimony. You can learn long distance in our painting classes. Here's an approach that I like to use. I was asked to do a portrait of a couple that had deceased many years ago. It was a black and white photograph I was working from right here. So like Norman Rockwell, have you heard of Norman Rockwell? He would like to draw things out just to make sure it's right and then start putting some tones. So just for the sake of time, I'm just going to walk through this real quick. So I did the drawing on a toned canvas. I put some tones to represent the shadows. And then I had what we call an underpainting done, which is this, just brownish tones. And then I started to put color and then pretty much finished it. So I love focusing on skin tones, edges, and they were very pleased with that. This is Brother Boyle at work doing the underpainting of the painting in the Jersey City Assembly Hall of the Samaritan woman and Jesus witnessing to her. So see, where did he get this from? You've heard of Rembrandt? Raise your hand if you heard of Rembrandt, one of the best painters in the world. Rembrandt would love to in underpaintings. You work it all out, you work with your tones, and then you put color over it. So yeah, I like that approach. So once a student graduates from the drawing course, they are invited, if they want to take the traditional painting course, whether oil, acrylic, pastel, or watercolor, whatever they want. And they can be encouraged to try out a monochrome painting. So like this bird, for example. And look, once they learn color, they can put it all together and they can come up with a beautiful painting. So there are 3 characteristics of color. Take notes if you're writing something down. What are the 3 characteristics of color? The hue. So this is like a blue, this is a yellow, this is kind of like a peach color. That's the hue. But there's also value. So this is like a lighter peach. This is a peach that is darker because it's in shadow. Or this is a blue, lighter. That's a deeper, darker blue. And then the third one is chroma? How intense is it? These are pretty much muted colors, but you can raise the saturation and it's really loud. If you want to paint something realistic, it usually don't go with such high chroma. So as you learn how to mix colors, you got to learn how to control all that, right? So anyways, we teach how to do color mixing as well. Here's a recent painting that I was working on of a little boy, and I wasn't finished when I did this video, but here I am painting this, and eventually I finished it. I sent it off, and I think the mother of the child received it today. So anyways, it's on my Instagram if you want to check it out. And by the way, I have, for those of you who can't take these classes on Ode2Art Academy because maybe they don't have time, there is a Patreon account that I have where I have put videos on, instructional videos. Some of my entire workshops, like the one of Rembrandt, I have one on Sargent, they're recorded, they're put there. So somebody for $10 a month, they can see all those videos, including concerts. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So everything is there. Okay, now let's say a young person has a goal to serve at Bethel. What if they learn traditional art? Do you think that they will choose them if they're really good? Well, in the past they would probably, but times have changed. Now things are digital. So you got to learn how to be an artist digitally now. And where do you start? Maybe you're not good at computers. Well, we have a 5-day class that gives you computer basics. And that will give you the fundamentals to take one of these classes a little bit later. So eventually you can take digital painting. So here's an example of, you can draw right on the computer. It looks like pencil, like real pencil. And there's programs like Photoshop. The one commonly used at Bethel is called Clip Studio. Have you heard of Procreate? That's another one that comes up with iPads. That's very nice too. We have digital, around 3 or 4 different digital classes. One is a one week class where you can learn the fundamentals of digital art. You can learn about Procreate. You can just work on an iPad Pro, 5 days only. And then you can take a 6-month course where it becomes like a little bit more serious, but more like a hobby. But if you want to take a every 2 weeks, 1-hour class, then you can take for the very serious artists, a 1 year and 3-month course. So it's every other week, 1 hour, and you can learn about getting a good portfolio together, how to market your work, and all kind of stuff. Here's an example of how digital paintings can look like a regular painting. Watch this. very detailed and tight. You can put in your own touch in digital art. This is another painting that you could sketch it right on digitally, and then you have your reference on the top left, paint in your basic colors, and then eventually shade it and make it nice and loose and painterly and beautiful. This is another style by another instructor, another style by another instructor, and you probably recognize this beautiful style. So you can figure out with some training how to copy the styles that are used at Bethel, and that's really good, because let's say you put in an application and you can show that you can do this type of work. Well, that's excellent, right? But I think what they really prefer to see is creativity also, something original that you've taken from maybe a photograph and put in your own touch. That is also something that is appreciated in the art department. Okay, what else? 3D modeling and animation. What is that? Is this needed maybe for theocratic use? Of course it is. There was actually a call for 3D artists recently in the congregation. What's the difference between modeling and animation? So here's, for example, a model. It doesn't really move. It's just made, but you can turn it around into a 3D environment later, right? So they can build something on the computer, which is the model, and then later on incorporate that into a 3D program, and then have it spin around and move. And that is really, really, the cutting edge type of art today. So check this little video out. I think it's really nice. So anyway, isn't that nice? There's a lot that could be done with 3D animation for, the special effects that we've been seeing in some of our videos. Incredible. Anyways, what else do we have? If you caught that, there's around 3 or 4 programs that are used. One of them is Unreal Engine. The other one is Maya. The other one is Blender. And there's another one called ZBrush. On Blender, that's one of the modeling programs. And that's used to do architectural renderings in 3D modeling. Not only that, but also biblical objects, like from the tabernacle and temple. You can learn to do that, and eventually the instructor is going to do the entire tabernacle and temple. You can say that's kind of like a personal study project, and at the same time you're learning a program. You know, when I was in the art department, we had a little section that they would do props, build props physically, and then now it was available for an artist to take pictures of, and then they can paint from it, looking at the picture of something that was made. Now they can do this digitally. So that's really exciting that you can do this now. Now, I'm sure you've heard of Caleb and Sophia, right? Those videos. And you want to see the program that they use to do that? It's called ZBrush. So imagine taking clay and forming something out of clay, but doing it on the computer with digital modeling. Well, that's what one of our instructors teaches. We got to change the name. It used to be New World School of Art. Now it's Ode2Art. It's actually Ode2Art.com, the website. Okay, so modeling. Once you have your model, let's say the statue of Caleb is made, the model of, but now he needs to move, right? How does he move? You need to incorporate that model into a program so that somebody called a rigger can make the joints move and everything else. And that is incorporated in a program called Maya. Look how fascinating the effects can be. Isn't that cool to learn that? It takes a lot of patience to learn how to, sit down maybe a few hours just to make a few movements and then get back to the next day and pass it on to the next guy who's going to put color on it. So that's a big teamwork effort. And then there's Unreal Engine, probably the most realistic of all the programs. And it can do some incredible lifelike effects in 3D. All these courses started in February, and they're like 6-month semester, which means you can't jump in now, because if you do, you'll be lost. They have a curriculum, a syllabus that is week 1 they're going to learn this, week 2 we're going to learn this, and so forth. So from February, March, April, May, June, July, August to August. Then after August, they start new classes. But now, even now, you can start getting on the waiting list for the next group. See, you can do that. And there's certain requirements of what kind of machine to use, what kind of computer to handle the program. You can write in about that too. Now, just to show you, this impressed me. This is one of the students that took the class of Unreal Engine. His name is RJ Villarreal, and this is his Instagram account. And let's just see this for, it's 3 minutes long, but let's just watch a couple of minutes. He did this little reel, and I don't think he ever had any experience doing it, but look what he did in just a few months. Pretty impressive, right? Look what he did. This guy really put his heart into it. Look at that. So some very realistic lighting effects you can get. So there's a lot. Look at that. He made a dinosaur. Isn't that kind of cool? Anyway, very nice. Okay, so enough with 3D modeling and animation. Do you like architecture? Do you know that I almost went to architectural school, but I decided to go to Bethel, and I have no regrets. But I love architecture. I appreciate good architecture. My brother is an architect, and he is one of a team of instructors that teach architectural courses. And you know what's the greatest thing? You really don't have to go to college to learn the fundamentals to be able to help in an architectural firm or an LDC. So you can learn the fundamentals of how to put a building together, what are the main elements of a building, how to draw with CAD, computer-aided drafting, how to do 3D modeling of buildings and so forth. So those are some neat classes available. For example, this is our CAD course available in English and Spanish. Check this out. And then we have the same class available in Spanish. And this is architectural rendering. You know, a lot of times it's good to try to visualize how it's going to look, not just looking at a floor plan, but looking at it in 3D. The same instructor who is teaching that class on the biblical objects of the tabernacle, he does this class too, and he's a phenomenal instructor. And then my brother teaches the Introduction to Construction Technology, which is just a 5-day class. In just 5 1.5-hour classes, you're going to learn the fundamental elements of how a building works. And so that's super important if you're going to get into the other classes too. So, he talks about the floor, the roofs, the walls, all these interesting things, you know, floors, roofs, walls, and eventually the access and egress, which is like windows and doors, heating and ventilation systems. And then what's nice that eventually those who have taken those courses will be able to join them in the summer to do a class that really takes on some architectural projects, and they can put all that knowledge into building a portfolio and all that. Eventually, we're going to build the entire world, right? Okay, what about music lessons? How many of you are musicians or love music or love to learn how to play an instrument? I love music. I started playing the sax when I was 12 years old. I wish I would have stuck with it even more so I can be even better, but I enjoy it. And we have so many classes. We got piano, violin, cello, ukulele, saxophone. But I want you to hear at least this one. This is a brother from Ukraine, and he is now here in Texas, and he is our saxophone instructor. Check this out. Now, let me just say something. If you want to meet these instructors, come to our monthly concerts. We have every last Saturday of the month a free concert where many of these instructors are playing live. And sometimes we get little bonuses. Like we hope that this month we're going to have Ronnie Laws. He's a famous saxophone player. He's been in the truth for many years. And he's going to be interviewed. I'm going to interview him. And if you maybe missed another one that I had before, the previous month, it was Larry Graham, a famous bass player, who I interviewed him, and he told us about Prince and how he witnessed the Prince and how he came into truth. And there's some actual video footage of the concerts. It's really exciting. So if you missed those, they are also on patreon.com. Okay. How many of you know a little bit of piano? A little bit of keyboard? A little bit? No? Okay, well, you can take that keyboard class. Oh, somebody does. How would you like to learn with some fundamental knowledge of piano to create a sound like an orchestra and create your own music? Like, one of those epic movies with the background music. I found a very talented instructor that's going to teach a class called Music Production. Check this out. Here's just a little glimpse. And later, he's going to give us an opportunity. If you follow me on Instagram or subscribe to our newsletter, you're going to see when this is going to happen. But he's going to give a free 1-hour class. Okay? But anyways, here's a little sample.
Hello everybody, my name is Pierre, and I would like to show you how I've created this short arrangement using a DAW. So I first started with a piano. Then I choose to layer some choir or orchestral sound. I added some horns and cello, which are doubled by trumpets here. Percussion part here, some timpani, some harp, and a triangle. Yes.
Isn't that impressive? Here's a little known secret, friends. In Bethel, they would have the society orchestra come in twice a year. They don't do it anymore. Why not? Because of this. We have people can learn how to use that synthesizer in an incredible way. People that have a super refined ear might notice a little bit of a difference, but most can't. So isn't it great to know this? This brother is going to be doing his own release of an album very soon. So it's really exciting what you can do. Okay, what about other classes in the Ode2Art Academy? Well, you can learn to be a graphic designer, learning Photoshop, Illustrator, page layout. And guess what? I have a special guest here today. His name is Sheridan. And I'm going to show this 1-minute video, and then we're going to have Sheridan talk to us a little bit about the culinary arts.
Hi, my name is Sheridan Jackson, and I'm a culinary arts instructor at the Ode2Art Academy. I have over 20 years experience in the food service industry. In our lives, we have various responsibilities. We all wear many hats. Welcome to my class, A Taste of Eating Out at Home. You will enjoy and enhance the art of cooking. Young ones and older ones are warmly invited.
Okay, Sheridan, tell us more about your classes. I'm so glad that you are here and that you have joined us in the Ode2Art Academy. Let me spotlight you for a second. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, brother. So much, my dear brother. It's so good to be here with you, friends, this evening. And I want to tell you a little bit about the cooking class that we have. It's the tour, taste, basically going on a virtual tour. Imagine that, going on the tour and cooking side by side with myself and fellow classmates. Well, that's what this class involves. We're going to enjoy the privilege of not only eating, which is a gift from Jehovah as well, but also preparing food, which is an art in itself, in harmony with the aspect of the Ode2Art school. Now, Jehovah has given us a unique ability, many abilities, and one is the ability to taste. Yes, we have taste buds. So we can tour with our taste buds in this classroom. Not only that, but our Father has given us the ability to use our senses, the sense of smell, not only taste, but sight, and also the ability to enjoy picking up and squeezing the fruits and vegetables. In this art class, we're going to enjoy that, cooking virtually side by side. And this class is international in scope. So we'll cook a variety of different types of cuisines as well. You'll notice also at the end of the course, we'll go on a virtual tour of the particular region that the food is prepared in. So I've had an opportunity to do these courses online with friends, and we've enjoyed it immensely. Some of the classes are up to about 35 friends with different logins. So perhaps you have a group of your friends that would like to be in this class with you throughout the United States or the world. Now you can all join virtually and we can be there together. We're gonna have a wonderful time. And want to thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to talk to you about this exciting class. Thank you very much also, Brother Salazar.
Nice. Thank you, Sheridan. Sheridan, before we say goodbye,
Yes.
we were talking about the real possibility in May, possibly to just dedicate a full hour, such as this tour is about an hour, but let's dedicate a whole hour, invite everybody to actually do one of your classes, but free, just a free class, and then you can demonstrate, and everybody can join along. We can actually let the friends know what is going to be cooked, what are some of the ingredients, if some want to follow or just watch, and that'll give them a taste of your little classroom. What do you think about that?
Oh, that is a wonderful idea. That sounds great. We'd love to have you, friends. We're going to have a ball. And what a fine way to get to know one another in our virtual kitchen.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. All
Thank
right, thanks a lot. Okay, Sharon served the Bethel too for a good while. Anyways, another art form is, can you see the screen again? You see this writing here? Okay, calligraphy is an art form too. Check this out. Now we have two calligraphy instructors. This friend here is from Texas, very experienced. I would say it's more like the classical calligraphy, and he's going to be teaching it in May. We have a younger sister in the Philippines who does a more modern calligraphy, very beautiful, very fun, and she's giving a free class. So if you go to the website, which I'm going to show you later, you want to try the free class, you can. And then if you wanted the classical one, this one that it's timeless, then you can also try that one out too. By the way, every class you pay monthly, so you can back out at any time. There's no long-term commitment. Just try it for a month, and maybe a couple of classes or 3 or 4 classes, and that's it. And that's it. That way, if you just circumstances don't allow it anymore, just don't come back, and it's fine. We understand. Anyways, what else? What else do we teach in the Ode2Art Academy? This is pretty exciting too. So let me explain a little bit about this. Videography. What about having the ability to do a professional looking wedding video? Not amateur looking, professional. Or doing a commercial for somebody, right? Or maybe doing a short story or something like that. Or film an event. Do it professionally. Well, you got to know how to incorporate music, how to edit, cut out the raw the stuff that doesn't work anymore. It's not valid. It's not helpful. Trim it down, and there's all kind of things involved in good videoing. So this is what this class is about. And then there's also something that's kind of related. Photography. That's an art form. I only choose the best. And this instructor, she is an award-winning photographer, and she doesn't just show you how to take a picture, but how to do it creatively. Now, I have a friend of mine that served with me at Bethel for many years, and this one is the only class that really is pushing it to say that it has something to do with the arts. But I included it anyways. Why? Because we all have to make a living in this world, and we got to save money, right, as best as we can. And this is a friend who can save thousands of dollars to a person who runs a business. He's helped me a lot. And his name is Mark, and he is a financial advisor. And so this class is really only 5 classes, about 1 hour each. And believe me, everybody who's taken it are amazed of how helpful it has been for them. Very, very good class. Excellent. And let's say you are an artist and you paint beautiful paintings, but nobody knows about you. Are you going to be successful as an artist? No. So you got to know how to market, right? So once the level of your art is pretty decent level, you better know how to market yourself. So there's a class also a few weeks long, only like, a few hours total, that it's for artists and marketing and knowing how to take advantage to get your name out there. It hasn't started yet. It hasn't started yet, but it's about to start, and maybe in a few weeks. Okay, language is also an art form, right? So American Sign Language, French, Italian, there are many languages that we teach. What did you know? I'm sure many of you know that we have friends that are coming from Ukraine to other countries, right? Wouldn't it be nice to communicate with them? We have a sister from Ukraine who is going to teach Ukrainian and also Russian and other languages, but her focus is Ukraine. And then we have a sister who is very passionate about biblical Hebrew. So you can go to the original languages of the Bible, Hebrew. Greek I'm working on. It hasn't happened yet. But she explains a lot of things of the basic understanding of biblical Hebrew in her course. And then there's Chinese Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Hindi, and a few others here. So check out the language arts section of Ode2Art Academy. Now, some have wondered, are these classes free? Well, there's a Bible principle. The worker is worthy of his wages, right? So, but one thing we can promise, we're not taking advantage of anybody. We're actually giving everybody a very good deal in comparison to other schools. If you go to college, for example, this is like the average cost of college in the United States, $25,000, maybe more. But if you go to a specialized college like these art universities, this is per year, about the same amount per year. And some are even higher, like $40,000 a year. But in the Ode2Art Academy, we just charge per month something between $20 and $40 per class at the most. Most are probably average $30 or less. And maybe at the most there's four classes a month, sometimes only 2 classes a month. And so it's a really good deal when you consider that in about 6 months, you can pretty much learn something that might have taken you years in college, because we just get to the main point and we give you time to do the more important things. We know what that is, right? The more important things, not this. But you can still glean a lot. And this is just a fun picture that shows what looks to be a brain, but really they're hands. And did you know that hands are connected to brain health? Did you know, friends, that when you do things that are creative, it prevents Alzheimer's disease? It's been proven. When you play an instrument, there's so much going on in your head when you're singing or you're playing an instrument or you're drawing or painting, doing something with your hands. So it's actually a lot of health benefits to this. One day, friends, we're going to use a lot more than what we use now of our brain. But now is a good time to get started if you have the time to do it, right? Scientists say that we currently, in a lifetime of about 80 years, we only use about 1% of 1%. That's not much. And yet, people like Beethoven have come out of with these abilities, right? Only with 1% of 1%. To illustrate that, if you had 100 paper plates and you take one out, that's 1%. If you cut 1% off of that one plate, that's about all what we use in a lifetime of 80 years. But can you imagine one day using 100% of our brain capacity? And then, if we reach that perfection that we're hoping to, we get an upgrade to a perfect brain. And if you live how long? Everlasting life. You're going to have endless amount of time to develop all these skills. So if there was ever a renaissance in the past, there's going to be an incredible new renaissance in the future. And maybe now, if you have the time, you can start working on developing these skills that are going to be useful maybe in this system, but in the next system as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour, this presentation. I'd like to conclude with the words of Michelangelo. He said that the true work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection. What did he mean by that? Well, if we're going to give credit to anybody, it should be the creator. Because what we're doing is basically simulating, copying what we see in God's wonderful creation. So, what is the Ode to Art Academy? It's a very unique school online that you can learn from even now from the comfort of your own home. And what's beautiful about it is there are other online schools, but by far the majority, they allow you to access videos. But this has personalized tutors, instructors, mentors who care about the students. You build friendships and you learn very practical things. Maybe these things learned can help you to reach a spiritual goal, a theocratic goal, maybe, right? No guarantees. I have no connections with the branch in that regard, but I know what they like. I know what they're after. I've read the letters like you have of what they're after. And we've catered the school to make this, raise the opportunities to reach those goals. So it's a very nice school, and I hope that if your circumstances allow, you can also benefit from the New World School of Art, as it used to be called, now the Ode2Art Academy. Anyways, by the way, if you're wondering why did the name change, it's because some other school had a very similar name, and we didn't want to, get anybody confused. So we changed it to Ode2Art Academy. Okay, before we conclude, I want to just show you how to look at the website, okay? So let me show you. It's simple. Ode2Art.com. So let me just drop this down for a second. Okay, so here it is, Ode2Art.com. And as soon as you get on, you're going to see a kind of a rotating video of some of the classes highlighted. But go to the classes section. And we're updating the website to make it more user friendly, but at least it functions right now. But right here we see traditional art on the top, digital art next, which includes those 3D programs, and then we have music classes and language arts. I forgot to mention we have 2 teachers who do tutoring too. They do tutoring for students who need a little help in their school, and they can be called upon. And then we have Sheridan, culinary arts. In the future, we're gonna have some other type of culinary arts. Another one, my sister and her daughter, my niece, they're gonna do something with natural foods, and that's gonna be fun too. Business, we got these 2 classes, and we have crafts. I forgot to mention card art. So you can do little paintings and watercolor with pen and ink. It's beautiful. And then you can write a little something on it and send it, make your own cards. So it's a nice little school, very unique, I think. And if you want to get information on it, you can, in the future, you can directly enroll. We're gonna add a lot more information so you don't have to ask for information because it's already there. But once you decide to enroll, then just click these buttons here, and there's going to be a little form to fill out. You're going to just tell everybody what time you're available, to take a class, and see when the instructor is available to teach the class. Hopefully it will coordinate, and then we'll just click the class you want. And then if you want to add a little note, you can at the bottom here. Send it off. I'll get the email, I'll send it off, I'll pass it on to one of the instructors who will write you back within hopefully 2 days. And you can be in communication with them. And really, when are you enrolled? If you pay your monthly due, then you're in. That's all. You're in. And you just show up with the Zoom credentials that were given to you. Enjoy your class, all right? So that's all. I was going to mention one last thing before we say goodbye. This is a presentation sponsored by my virtual Bible tours, and these dear brothers, they do this free for all of us. But if you want to support our brothers and sisters who take from their time to do this, then it's very much appreciated. So there's 3 ways of leaving a gift. One is through a credit card to this email address, myvirtualbibletour.com/esalazar, or you can use an app like PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App to this one, esalazar@mybibletours.com, or simply a check. And for your convenience, I'm also going to put this on the chat. And if you all have any questions at all, stick around for a few minutes and I would be happy to answer questions, okay? So thank you, friends, for coming. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this enlightening. I just gonna ask a favor. Tell your friends about this, because you know what? Now that the pandemic is winding down, I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing my virtual Bible tours. I hope we continue. As long as we have an audience, we're going to keep doing it. But we want the word to come out, so the brothers and sisters know what's going on. And by the way, I am coming up with a new tour. And you want me to tell you a little bit about it real quick? Okay. I think I'm going to call it The Promise of Paradise. The Promise of Paradise. Or Promise of Paradise. Something like that. But it's going to involve the covenants. 6 covenants that are in the Bible. And a covenant is like a promise, right? And so our Creator has promised us that His purpose is going to be fulfilled, right? His original purpose. So remember the book Paradise Lost to Paradise Regained? Remember that? So this is a tour that is going to explore all these covenants and the promise, the original promise at Genesis 3:15, that everything is going to be restored again. So it'll be nice. And since I don't use Watchtower art, I'm an artist. I've done several paradise paintings. So we're going to include my paradise paintings in this and talk about paradise and see how it all will be restored in God's due time. And all evidence shows we are very close. So anyways, a promise of paradise. Starting, I think, in June. So I'm working on it. Okay, dear friends, thanks again for being here. And I don't know if you have any questions or not. Anybody got any questions?
Oh, hi, Brother Salazar. Iris, my wife has a question.
Oh, okay. Please.
Hi, Brother Salazar. I took one of your courses and I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
Um,
which one?
I took the one for